Welcome to Psychological Power Dynamics. Now, this video explains how understanding psychology can help us build successful client acquisition systems. And we'll be breaking down every core idea in psychology under the sun to do with client acquisition. And if you want to create winning stimuli, then pay attention. So first, let's recap our acquisition first principles, right? So let's start by revisiting where we started. And client acquisition starts with a human, okay? So we've got a human, which is a person that we want to attract as a client, plus the stimulus, which is what we use to get an action. So getting someone to do something, which then equals the action, right? So a human acting in a way that supports them becoming a client. So, for example, we've got our target market of OnlyFans creators. Then if we get the stimulus of them seeing a Facebook ad, which then gets them to take action to book a call and potentially become a client, okay? That's first principles, how we look at acquisition, okay? Now, client acquisition is all about getting humans to take action. The process of converting a random stranger into a client revolves around getting them to take a series of action called a micro-action chain. Now, here's Malossum's micro-action chain for YouTube organic attraction, for example. So, the OnlyFans creator would see the vid, right? She'd see the thumbnail. She would then click the video, watch the video, read the description. Then they're going to be clicking the link. Then they're going to be watching the video. Then they're going to be believing the social proof. Then they're going to be clicking a button to schedule. Then they're going to be selecting a time. Then they're going to be providing the qualifying information, to watching interviews, to showing up for the call, to agreeing to agenda, to answering questions, to listening to the pitch, to asking questions, to raising objections, to listening to rebuttals, to being convinced, to making a decision, to signing the agreement. Now, a working stimulus is a trigger that triggers an action in the micro-action chain. Acquiring clients is as simple as lining up the effective triggers and exposing them to the human in a linear order. For example, from the above micro-action chain, we can get the stimuli chain. So the thumbnail and title, to the hook and the content, to the CTA and the content, to the funnel link, to the funnel title, to the GIF thumbnail on the video, to the compelling social proof, to the call to action in the video and page to book, to the Calendly interface, to the questions, to the thank you page and email, to the stating agenda, to the asking questions, pitching the product, to staying silent, to stating the price, to overcoming objections, to closing, to sending the agreement, to waiting for the signature. Now, different stimuli are assigned to get different actions. A YouTube thumbnail, for example, is assigned to get clicks. A funnel lead form is assigned to get email addresses, and so on. So, anyone can list out micro-action and stimuli chains, and anyone can design stimuli, but that doesn't mean they're gonna get results, okay? You only get results when you have effective stimuli. And so, effective, the word used to describe a stimulus that successfully triggers is assigned action. Effectiveness isn't binary. A stimulus isn't simply effective or ineffective in regards to it triggering an action. Instead, we look at effectiveness on a spectrum. So here we've got 100% effectiveness, right? The metric the stimulus is attributed to is way above KPI. And then here we've got 0% effectiveness, which means the metric the stimulus is attributed to is way below KPI. And so remember that the more often than not, stimulus works in pairs, trios, or quads as key variables. So you could have a super effective stimulus, but if you pair it with an ineffective stimulus, its effectiveness cancels out. So example, you can have the best YouTube thumbnail in the world, but if you have the worst video title in the world, then the video will not get clicks, right? And so that would be somewhere in the spectrum of being effective. It might be 50%, right? Because you've got the thumbnail, but you haven't got the title. And so the premise here is simple. The more likely a stimulus is to trigger its assigned action, the more effective it is, okay? So if you have you look at Mr. Beast, he's up here, right, in terms of effectiveness on thumbnails and titles, for example, okay? Whereas someone just starting out, probably more close to down here, okay? So it's not whether it's effective or not effective, it's somewhere on this spectrum. And as you learn, as you improve your skills, you can move up the spectrum. So now for the important questions. What determines whether or not a stimulus has high effectiveness? How do we know what creates a good stimulus? And how do we get people to take action with our stimuli? Now, the truth is that most people think it's luck, but they're wrong. So now we've got the human component. Now, humans in your niche determine the effectiveness as a stimuli. They set the conditions for what is or is not effective. What is a human? Human equals body plus mind, okay, if we think on first principles. Now, the body is the physical being of a human, the shell they exist in, and it executes orders from the mind. And the mind is the mental being of a human. Thought and consciousness is self that gives orders to the body. Now, you might be asking, like, Dylan, of course I know what a human body and mind is. I'm just teaching you how to think in first principles, and this will all make sense when we talk about heuristics going forward, right? Now, the mind sets the action and the body executes it. So if we want a human to take an action, aka click, reply, schedule, open, answer, we need to get their body to execute it. And for their body to execute it, we need to get their mind to set it. So psychology is the study of the mind and the behavior it produces. And the mind is split into two parts, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And the mind can set actions consciously or unconsciously. And so 95% of human decisions and actions happen unconsciously. Think about it. How conscious was your decision to eat what you ate this morning? Probably not very. How conscious was your decision to drink the water you just drank? Probably not very. How conscious was your decision to scroll through Facebook this morning? Or, God forbid, right now, right? How conscious was your decision to click on Malossum's funnel? Probably not very. How conscious was your decision to agree to our sales agenda? Probably not very. And so humans make both decisions and actions in client acquisition consciously and unconsciously. They'll think about scheduling, they'll think about buying, but they won't think about clicking on an ad or being engrossed in a VSL funnel video. Regardless of whether the action is consciously or unconsciously manifested, there are heuristics of the mind working in the background to dictate those decisions to act. And if we understand these heuristics, we can build better stimuli to trigger the action that we want. So let's look at something called lock and key theory. Now, the secret to building stimuli is to leverage the heuristics of the mind. There are a number of heuristics that we can exploit ethically and use to get what we want from humans. And so the heuristics of the mind are like pins on a lock. Imagine a human mind as a lock on a door. If we want to open the door and get the action you want, you need to design a key that fits the lock pins. So understand that the lock determines the key and the key does not determine the lock. And also understand the human determines the effectiveness of the stimuli. The effectiveness of the stimuli does not determine the human. And so locksmiths design locks, then build the key afterwards and in accordance with the lock itself. And this is a fundamental paradigm shift that you must have for all of your stimuli. You must build your stimuli in accordance with the humans you are trying to reach out to, okay? So you must build your stimuli, you must build your sales assets, your YouTube videos, your ads, your VSLs, your outreach messages in accordance to the OnlyFans creators that you're trying to reach out to, okay? Not vice versa. And so there are heuristics about the mind that we can understand, and these heuristics allow us to predict how people will behave. And by understanding these heuristics, we can forge our key and increase the likelihood that our stimuli have high effectiveness. And the better your stimuli fits the lock of the human mind, the more effective it has. Now, designing a stimulus without understanding the human mind you are designing it for is like designing a key without knowing what sort of lock you have to open, all right? It just doesn't work. And so let's look at this cognitive heuristics, aka cognitive biases. I love this stuff. I've been studying this stuff for years, and this is probably why I'm as successful as I am, because I do so much studying on psychology. I generally believe it's like one of the highest leverage things you can understand. And so I want to try and bring them like 6-7 years of knowledge into this video for you on cognitive biases, right? So a heuristic, also known as a cognitive bias, is a pre-programmed quality of the mind that processes information, typically in an irrational way, meaning the human does the action without thinking or reasoning, regardless of whether or not it's the right thing to do, or with slightly impaired judgment. And heuristics are unconscious decision-making tools, and most people are completely unaware they have them. You have heuristics, I have heuristics, Jeff Bezos has them, Elon Musk has them. Successful people have designed their heuristics for success, and unsuccessful people haven't. And information is received by the brain via the senses, such as touch, sight, smell, hearing, and taste. All information received by a human is processed by the subconscious mind, which is riddled with heuristics and cognitive biases. These heuristics skew the information and biases and bias the person's thinking towards an action. There are a ton of universal heuristics we will be discussing in this video, but there are more heuristics unique to specific individuals, so we won't be able to cover every single one here. For most people, heuristics are a force for bad. They create misjudgment and encourage irrational mistakes. However, you can use them as a force for good by rewiring them. They're simply decision-making tools. Every human is born with them, but if you want them to work for you, you need to become more aware of them and change yourself accordingly. Think of heuristics in the mind like the operating software in a computer. It's installed at assembly, and all information is computed through it, meaning all information is biased to the operating software and its agenda. Example, if the operating software is biased towards using Adobe, then all PDFs will be processed with Adobe. And here's the cool part. We can shape and forge our stimuli to fit the mind by building it to take advantage of the heuristics shared by the human population. So, the origin of cognitive biases. To understand heuristics and cognitive biases, we need to understand why they exist. Now, the human brain has a large energy budget allocated by the body in relation to its size. And while accounting for 2% of your overall organic mass, your brain uses 20% of oxygen and therefore calories consumed by your body. The brain requires some serious resources to run. And what this means is that it loves efficiency. A more efficient brain equals less caloric consumption, equals more energy, equals more survival, aka more fitness. And it's an evolutionary thing. Also, a more efficient brain equals smaller brain, smaller skull, smaller head, less chance of maternal mortality during childbirth. Now, once again, it's a survival thing. Nature has selected the human brain for efficiency. Thinking, remembering, and cognitive tasks are extremely expensive and calorifically speaking, right? So everything that you are thinking about and tasks that you're doing that are very demanding, they're very expensive if we look at it in terms of energy, if we look at it in terms of calories being expended, right? And so because of this, nature selected for cognitive shortcuts that prevent us having to think and therefore save expensive calories. We know these shortcuts as heuristics. They were great when we were discovering fire, fighting snakes, and sleeping in trees when calories were scarce. But they're not so optimal for modern life. And you must understand that your brain and everyone else's is adapted for primitive survival. This means a lot of our cognitive tools, biases, and heuristics would have been helpful to our ancestors surviving on the African plains 150,000 years ago. And in fact, they're one of the reasons we are such a successful species in terms of survival. And so when you start reading about the common heuristics and recognizing them in yourself and your own cognition, don't judge yourself for it. They kept your ancestors alive, and you would not be here without them. So here's some examples, right? Social proof. I love this one, right? 150,000 years ago, if I saw Caveman Jack running away from camp screaming ugh, ugh, ugh at full speed for no reason, it would likely contribute to my survival to follow suit. More often than not, so I'd run after him shouting ugh, ugh, ugh. Reciprocity. If Caveman Jack, with all his culinary talents, cooked too much meat and gave me some, it would be in my best interest to return the favor so we can make our mistakes profitable for ourselves in the future. Now we got the leverage list. Now, legitimate disclaimer here, right? Serious ethical warning. I'm now going to discuss heuristics of the mind that we can use to create confidence and trust to get people to take the actions that we want them to take. And now it's important before we proceed that I have your awareness and agreement that with this knowledge comes a big responsibility. And I'm trusting you to only use this video as a force for good. So please only use these if you know you can generally help people and are acting in their best interest, okay? So psychology sets the conditions for what an effective stimulus is, and heuristics are leverageable. Understanding them helps you craft stimuli more conducive to action that a human otherwise wouldn't have taken had they not seen your stimuli. I'm going to break down 88 heuristics. And if you understand these and how they're interrelated, you will never struggle with effectiveness stimulus creation ever again. So there's not much fancy color here. There's not much there's no like graphs and stuff like I usually use. This is just pure raw fundamentals, right? So note as well, these are models of behavior and do not apply every time in a binary sense. And so not all of them will exist in every scenario of human activity. They're not always relevant to acquisition, and you do not, you don't need to bear every single one in mind when crafting stimuli, right? So like, you're not going to be like, oh my God, I need to like include all of like these 88 heuristics in this one ad or this one YouTube video, right? Like that's not where it is. It's not even about cramming all of them into like one thing. Like you're not gonna make an effective stimuli by doing that, right? It's just going to be too much. Like you could literally create an effective stimulus just by having this heuristic and nothing else, right? So don't think of it as like I need to combine them all to make the most effective ones. You just need to understand them, and then you'll start to realize like, okay, when you do see an ad, or maybe you review my ads or content or whatever, you'll start to realize like, oh, okay, you use like 7 different heuristics in this. This is really good, and then you'll start to realize, right? So the first heuristic. First cognitive bias is reward super response tendency, so incentives. So the main driver of human behavior is incentive. An incentive exists as a force of motivation or encouragement for someone to do something, typically for their own interest. And as Warren Buffett says, the ants go where the sugar lies. People really do things without incentive. Example, right? If your agency's offer is the initial incentives, it is the initial incentive that drives OnlyFans creators towards making decisions to become a client, then the better the offer, the stronger the incentive, and the more action you will get, okay? And then even further than that, like this is why you need to be incentivizing your chatters and coming up with incentive and comp structures for them, and the same when it comes to your sales team and so on and so forth, your setters, etc. Now, the second heuristic is punishment super response tendency. Now, humans don't like doing things that result in punishment. They avoid making decisions to take action to do things that will lead to them being punished by a form of authority or not. And an example here is someone might not book an appointment with you because your offer doesn't contain enough risk reversal, and they think buying it, they'll be punished with lost capital. So that's something you need to consider, right? When we talk about offer creation, and that's why you will now understand, oh, okay, so that's why risk reversal is there. Influence, right? Number 3, influence from mere association tendency. So humans are easily biased and influenced by association. So example, if you charge below all the competition, your prospect might associate your product with lower quality, since price is often associated with quality. Or if your product is used by an authority in your niche, people will associate the success with your product. So if you have a picture, a video, a case study, anything with an authority in the space. For example, if you've got a picture with like the biggest OnlyFans creator, or a video with the biggest OnlyFans creator, or a case study from the biggest OnlyFans creator, then purely by association, you'll get more people taking action on your stuff, you'll get more people trusting you, you'll get more people joining your product, etc., and they will perceive your product as higher quality than the rest, okay? So you can effectively create a moat around your product and service by literally utilizing this heuristic. Now, the fourth heuristic is liking, loving tendency. Now, humans are more likely to act on something if they like or love the person asking them to act. They can also form their opinions and beliefs about reality based on who they look up to and like. Example, you're more likely to take advice from your parents than someone else's parents. Or people will be more likely to buy from you if they like or love you. This is why I really push the fact that you need to be doing YouTube content, because once someone has consumed 7 hours of your YouTube, they will buy something from you. There's a study on it that people need to consume 7 hours worth of your content for them to want to buy something from you, right? And so if you do a really good job in your content and you leverage these heuristics that I'm talking about, then people like OnlyFans creators, your target market will want to join your product or service, okay? So they're more likely to, if an OnlyFans creator has watched 7 hours of your content, when they go and watch, like, let's just say the next video, and now they're over the limit, they've watched more than 7 hours, and you make that call to action of go and book a call with my team, see how we can help, that's when the actions will get triggered. And so, like, when you're just starting YouTube, don't expect to be like getting insane results from it straight away, right? You need to build those assets. And that's why I say, like, the more content you put out, like, be uploading 3 videos a week, right? And it's the reason why YouTube's more leveraged than Instagram, because Instagram's like 30-second, 1-minute videos. So think how much longer it takes to get someone to trust you on Instagram versus YouTube, okay? So that's why, like, there's a lot more buying power on YouTube. The 5th heuristic is dislike and hating tendency. Humans are less likely to act on something if they dislike or hate the person asking them to act. They can also form their opinions and beliefs about reality based on who they look down on and dislike. Example, if you hate Donald Trump, everything he says will be filtered through his hate. So even if he says something objectively true, you will not see it that way. Or if someone hates your approach, they will not schedule to even talk to you, even if you can change their life, right? So this is really important to understand. Now, number 6 is doubt avoidance tendency. So humans hate sitting with doubt, so make decisions to escape it. They will decide and act irrationally just to remove doubt and get out of a doubtful state. And if a prospect has doubts of your service, an example of doubt avoidance tendency is if a prospect, so if an OnlyFans creator, right, has doubts your service is worth their time, they will make the decision to not speak with you, okay? So that is why, like, for example, in the VSLs and stuff that we create, sometimes we will do objection handling in the VSLs, right? So there's no doubt there that we can deliver. That's why you want to show testimonials or show your methodology, because otherwise there's doubt. And if there's doubt, they're not going to book that call, right? Now, 7th heuristic is inconsistency avoidance tendency. Humans are biased towards not being inconsistent with identities, beliefs, and paradigms. They are reluctant to act in a way that is misaligned with their worldview or self-image. Example, if you get a prospect to intentionally schedule a call and remind them a few times of their decision to schedule, they're likely to show up as to not seem inconsistent with their prior action to schedule, right? So again, if you are, like, it's very rare that anyone will act in a way that is different to their identity, to their worldview, okay? And so if an OnlyFans creator, if like they ask you for help and you get them to schedule a call and they intentionally schedule a call and then you remind them of their decision to schedule, then they way likely show up, right? So like if in your reminding sequence you have something to where you're reminding them of their decision to schedule, right? Then they're way more likely to show up, because otherwise it's like, well, think of it from their perspective, right? Like, oh my God, I made the decision to book this call and to show up for this call. And then when you remind them that it was their decision to show up for the call, that it was their decision that they scheduled the call, then they're not going to want to be like, they're not going to want to show up, because that's misaligned with their self-image, okay? So it's really key to understand this stuff. Now, number 8 is commitment consistency or confirmation bias, right? Humans seek to confirm what they already believe to be true. Now, they're biased towards seeking information that confirms their existing perception of reality and reject that which doesn't align with their sense of reality. For example, prospects who think Facebook ads are the best for their business will naturally seek Facebook ads as a solution to their problems, even if YouTube ads are better objectively. Or if you get someone who wants to think about it to pay a deposit, you skew them to buy later, right? So if you get someone who wants to think about it to pay a deposit, you skew them to buy later, right? Number 9, curiosity tendency. Humans are curious, and this drives their actions and decisions. They hate having half the picture and like to complete things in cognitive and intellectual terms. So we'll typically act in accordance with this. Example, if you have a website with every piece of information under the sun about your product, you sap most prospects of the natural curiosity and the curious motivation to schedule a call, right? Which is why, like, in our outreach stimuli, in our ads, we don't like to explain everything and how it works and what the price is and just every single feature and what they're going to be getting, because then there's no curiosity, right? And based on their paradigm and based on their current understanding, if we're looking at like confirmation bias and avoidance tendency, then like without this, they're just gonna make their own objective reality of what they're getting, right? Like I could say to someone, you're getting 24 mastermind calls with me, right? Or you're getting 24/7 chatting on your account. Now, and then I can say list all these other things. Now, someone is going to perceive that differently. Like person A will perceive that differently to person B based on this and this heuristic, okay? And so we need to leave curious motivation for them to actually like want to schedule the call to find out more, okay? So that's really key. Like whenever I see like a product or service and it's got like every single feature and detail, I'm like, oh my God, these people have no idea what they're doing, right? So next one is Kantian fairness tendency. Now, humans expect to be treated fairly and are extremely sensitive to a perceived lack of fairness in the world, especially if it concerns them or someone they love. An example is if you have an OnlyFans creator who works hard but doesn't make money, you can appeal to their Kantian fairness tendency by telling them that they don't deserve to suffer like this and that it's not fair that they don't have more and that you want to bring this fairness with your offer. Right? Imagine how powerful this is. We leverage this all the time on sales calls. It's like, oh my God, you work so hard. I can see you putting out all this content, but you just don't have access to the right information. You just don't have access to the right people that's going to help you get it. And so like, you do not deserve to be suffering like you are. You do not deserve to be making the money you are. It's not fair. And I really want to help bring fairness. I really want to help you achieve this outcome by doing X, Y, Z thing, right? Now, heuristic number 11 is excessive self-regard, right? So there's a strong tendency in the human condition to believe that one is better than others, and they overestimate their abilities, skills, decision-making abilities, and objectivity. So, for example, right, if you have an OnlyFans creator who says they've tried everything that works, and because they tried it and it didn't work, it was the thing that didn't work, not their involvement in it, right? They're God's gift to the world, right? And so, like, what that means is you've got an OnlyFans creator who's like done everything. She's bought courses, she's worked with tons of agencies, and it didn't work. And it was the thing that didn't work. It wasn't her involvement in it, right? So she could have worked with us, for example, and we've given her all the tools and help to succeed. And she just didn't decide to take that, and she didn't decide to run with it, and it didn't work. And she believes that it was just us. It was our fault, right? Like that's obviously not the case, but that's a bias to understand. Now, the next cognitive bias is pain avoiding denial. So humans hate pain. To offset the feeling of pain, they often enter states of denial to warp their worldview to make things more bearable. This influences their ability to make rational decisions. Example, someone overestimates their ability to run their own Facebook ads and ads flop, but they declare the problem was with Facebook and not them. Right? And there's tons of examples of this when working with creators, when working with people. Like this is pain avoiding denial is a big one. Over optimism tendency, right? A lot of humans have a tendency to be overly optimistic with life, and they expect better outcomes than are likely or rational, and overestimate how quickly they get things they want, right? I meet so many people. Pretty much every entrepreneur has this. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in the program, you have this because it's like obviously you have it, but I mean this is like a big effect in your life because I do this all the time, right? We have a massive tendency, especially as entrepreneurs, to be overly optimistic, and we all expect better outcomes than are actually likely or rational, and so we overestimate how quickly we can get things done. So I'll meet someone that joins the program that's completely brand new, right? They're 18 years old, they have no life experience, they have no business experience, they know absolutely nothing, and they expect to be making like 500K a month in the next 6 to 12 months. That's like pretty much delusional, right? Even with all the help that I can give them, that's extremely delusional and extremely over-optimistic. And then when they don't get it, then they obviously, kind of in the bin. And so another example is prospects will expect results to be amazing, as this is a natural tendency in human nature. So don't be afraid to write too good to be true statements, okay? Now, Deprival superreaction tendency. Now, humans are loss averse. This means they react badly to losing things they have, and the negative emotional weight carried loss is net stronger than the positive emotional weight carried by gain. So people don't like losing opportunities to grow their business. And if you position your offer as a get it or lose it now type deal, then you can leverage loss aversion. Leveraging loss aversion is like one of the biggest things I do in all my marketing. And it's actually like probably one of the best things I use. Like leveraging loss aversion is so powerful. I remember watching a masterclass on leveraging loss aversion, and it was so good. And ever since then, I've used it, and I'm always thinking, how can I leverage loss aversion? Because it gets people to act. Because people hate losing shit, especially once they gain something. Like if you can give someone something, and then like explain that like you're gonna take it back if they don't do X. Oh, it's so powerful. Like it's so crazy. Like it's insane. Like if you put a YouTube video up for 7 days, and then like after 7 days you're gonna remove it, or like if you send someone, it's just there's so many ways to do it. It's so good. So if you give someone like to book in for a call, and then like you only give them like a certain amount of days, like if they don't do it, like they lose the opportunity. Like there's so many ways to leverage it in your offer, as like a get it or lose it now type deal. Social proof tendency. Humans have a tendency to base their actions and decisions on other humans' decisions and actions. So if they see lots of people doing something, they're more likely to do it. It's literally monkey see, monkey do, right? Which is why when I review everyone's offer in the program, they've all just copied mine. Like, and that's not gonna work. Like when I say like literally just use the framework, but completely change everything, like all the words, how you like look at it, how you structure it, like it needs to be completely different, because if it looks the same, then you're just shooting yourself in the foot. Like you really are. Like if you copy DM Alchemy, you copy all the systems, it is not going to work for you. It's really not. We'll work at like a very less effectiveness, and eventually it will just die so much faster because everyone uses it, which is why I'm teaching you all this stuff to think for yourself and make your own stuff. Like, yeah, it's going to take longer, it's going to be harder, but the results are going to be just a different level if you do that. So example, right, on our website's results page, I wrote 340 plus happy clients, can't be wrong, right? So when an OnlyFans creator sees that, they're gonna be like, well, yeah, like it must be right. 16, contrast misreaction tendency. People perceive things on a scale of contrast, always comparing something to its opposite to form a judgment. For example, $1,000 seems expensive to pay for something when compared to $45, but seems cheaper when compared to $1 million, right? And so think of how you can utilize this in your pricing, in your service, in your offer, right? It's why people will be like, on their offers, you'll see a lot of the times, all this value, like they'll list all the things, right? So they'll do a stack, they'll do a value stack is what it's called, where they'll be like, you get access to our OnlyFans creator blueprint, and then they'll put the value there, like $2,000. You'll also get 6 one-to-one calls, and they'll put the value like $10,000, and they'll like do all these things, list all these things, stack, 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 and then they'll say total value $25,000, and then they'll be like, but if you take action today, you're gonna get all of this for, you know, $1,000 or $500, because like you value stack them. So you're using contrast misreaction tendency, because Hormozi did this in his pitch of his book. It was really good. If you ever want to see like a masterclass on utilizing this particular heuristic, go and watch Hormozi's like live video on his YouTube when he pitched $100 million offers. $100 million leads. Like type in like Hormozi, $100 million leads or whatever. Let's like do this right now. So if we look at this $100 million leads launch, I'd recommend watching this entire thing, because you'll see how many of these heuristics he leverages. But throughout this pitch, he talks about like all the different things and all the time and energy he's put into each particular part of this like book. And so like he'll talk about like this, right? He'll talk about like, oh, the affiliate playbook that I like, you know, I value it today at only a fraction of my investment time and money, and I'm going to value my... So he explains how valuable the thing is, and then he says, but look, I'm going to be nice and value it a fraction of my time and money, because he explains, you know, like I put like $100,000 into this and like 4 years, and even at that, I'll be kind and I'm going to value it 1.9K, right? And he does that with a ton of different things. So like this one, right? 997, like, and I value it a fraction, and he stacks, right? And so like he stacks this first, where he's like, okay, boom, let's watch.
Time, money. at $1,997. So you're gonna get lead magnet mastery.
And so he starts with lead magnet mastery, like somewhere up here, and he talks about all these things, and then he keeps stacking it. I honestly recommend watching this video. It's an absolute masterclass on like how to make like an offer and using these heuristics.
So that you can make banging lead magnets that people want to buy from you after. You're gonna get the first 5 clients framework so that you can get your first 5 clients for free, even if you have no dollars right now. The most immediate content method that will help you build a brand that other people want to pay you money to get in front of your audience for, that you can either choose not to, or you can sell them stuff on your own.
And so the thing is, if you watch this live, right, you could see all the comments when he was pitching, freaking out, because at this point he'd never launched anything, right? At this point he had never sold anything, and his entire thing was, I have nothing to sell you. And all the comments were like, sell out, like now he's selling us something. And obviously everyone thought that he was dropping something for like $20,000 because he was value stacking, and people were like, the biggest issue was like, he made them seem so valuable that people were so pissed off because they thought they were going to get all this stuff for free because he's known as the guy that gives it for free. And so the comments were going crazy. Like, I can't believe you're selling this and blah, 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 blah. And so like, if we look at like the final value stack, I think it's like, yeah, it should be around you somewhere. Yeah, it's you. So bear in mind, at this point, people know like how much value these are, and people know they're worth so much more than where he said they valued that. And so people really want them, right? Because he sold them to them. And so like, I was so good. Like, honestly, you should watch this video.
The cold outreach playbook so that you can get leads in any condition, in any environment. You're gonna get the paid ads playbook that you can crank with 0 reputation to get more customers. You're gonna have the referral playbook that can give you the virality in the business you want, that can scale with the highest margins. And you're gonna get the affiliate playbook, which will allow you to partner with other businesses to get you more leads. And the $0 to $100 million scaling roadmap from someone who's actually been there. Total value, $1,276. This is all the stuff you're gonna get. Listen, these systems are more valuable than the masterminds that sell for $25,000, $50,000, even $100,000.
So like, everyone thinks he's selling something for $12,000 now, right? So they're kind of freaking out and they're like, what the fuck? Like, I really want that, but I'm not paying $12,000, right? And let's be honest, they are worth $12,000, right? And then he stacks it again against even bigger numbers. This is worth more than 100,000. Like, I've been nice. Like, I've valued like this at like a nice point.
Ubers, who've never even done it. And it will give you hilariously more value than a $100,000 4-year degree.
And so now he's stacking it and comparing it, showing how much value he's actually giving for $12,000 to make the $12,000 like not seem that much.
And you've seen this has produced $100 million in sales for me and my companies and a $46.2 million exit.
So now he's leveraging psychology. He's like, fuck, like, yeah, I could make 100 mil off this stuff. Right? Or I'd have to spend 10 million to figure out why it works. Like, so 12,000 is nothing.
In hard costs alone, this has cost me over $10 million to figure out what actually works. And if you were to pay me hourly to teach you one-on-one based on my hourly earnings over the last 5 years, it would cost you $2 million. So if I were to price this at what it's truly worth, I wouldn't have any issue asking you to invest 100 grand to get the entire system. And before I tell you the price, let me ask you a question. How much is double your lead flow worth? An extra 10,000 a year? An extra 50,000 a year? An extra 100,000? If you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that it would happen, wouldn't it be worth at least that much? Because after $100 million offers, Nick tripled his cleaning business from 87 clients to 252 clients. And Bill took his pizzeria from 13,000 a week to 20,000 a week, adding 350,000 per year in sales.
Like, this is just a masterclass. Like, it's just insane, right? And so like, if we then look,
$2,183. But instead, I invested my last $1,000 in the SME 500 skills and turned $1,000 into what we have now. I've ever given at not $12,000, not $4,997, but $2,997.
so twice he's like price fakes, right? So like, first he says it's 4.9K and everyone's freaking out. Like, oh, I don't want to pay 4.9K. And then he says like 2K.
But because I want each and every one of you to 2X, 5X, 10X your lead flow and your business over the next 12 months, and I know how life-changing this system has been for me and my family. And I want this to be affordable for everyone, but still an investment. I'm not going to ask for $12,076, even though it'd be totally reasonable and a bargain. I'm not going to ask for $4,997. I'm not even going to ask for $2,997. I'm going to give you access to everything we talked about today for a single payment of A single payment of. It's free.
See, like that is how you make an offer. Like that is values, like that is crazy. And I'd recommend watching this entire thing to see how he pitches this. That was a long explanation of just one contrast misreaction tendency heuristic, but like it's so powerful. Like if you can get that right, like you can, again, alone, like this alone can really get people to not think twice about giving you 70% of their earnings or 60% of their earnings or 50% of their earnings, right? If you can, in your sales pitch and in your offer, showcase how much value you actually provide for the cost that you do it at, then every single person's it's gonna be a no-brainer. Like it's irresistible, like you have to do it, right? And if you can position that in your VSL, in your ads, in your copy, in your content, then you're gonna just take over the market, right? That's why I wanted to give a little bit of a extra explanation on that. I didn't tend to, but it just came to mind and I was like, right, I need to show you this. Number 17, right? Getting back into it. Authority, misinfluence tendency. People assign believability to authority, meaning they're more likely to make decisions, judgments, and take actions because a figure of authority said it was the right thing to do. Example, I have a YouTube channel for this very reason. It gives me authority and makes my word carry more weight and influence. Alex Hormozi could tell his audience to eat a bowl of honey for breakfast for no reason, and they'd be inclined to do it because he has authority. 18, cognitive closure. Humans like closure. They like things to be in their place and proper, making decisions and taking action sometimes just for the sake of closure, often preemptively without the right information. Example, someone makes a decision on a sales call before speaking to their business partner because they wanted closure on the decision. 19, cognitive drift. It's common for people's belief systems to change over time and gradually. It can require a lot of evidence and persistent exposure to an idea for someone to adopt it as their own. Example, someone can believe a one-call close isn't possible, but after enough exposure to the idea and evidence it works, their mind will change. Number 20, cognitive dissonance. Humans struggle with contradiction. They find it difficult and cognitively uncomfortable to hold two opposing viewpoints or beliefs in their mind. Decision and polarization is a way to deal with discomfort. Example, prospects seldom purchase from two vendors offering the same solution. Or you might only want to run cold email or cold calling, not considering both at the same time is best. Familiarity bias. Humans are more likely to trust, love, and believe things just because they are familiar. Familiarity is simply repeated exposure to something. Example, most of your cold email replies will come from follow-up 6+ times because at that point, people have typically been exposed to you enough to feel familiar. Oh, I kind of like this guy, right? The IKEA effect. People love things they build themselves or ideas they arrive at on their own. Example, it's easy to fall in love with stimuli and systems you create, and you should only love what works in practice, not what you've developed in theory, right? People will spend, like I see this all the time, right? People will spend like 2 months building a logo, or people will spend like a month building a website, or a year building a business, or 10 years building a business, or wherever, right? And they fall in love with it because they built it themselves when in objective reality it's dog shit and it's terrible and it's just very difficult for them to face that. But you need to realize you should only love what works in practice and not what is developed, not what you've developed in theory, right? So like I could have fell in love with the ABC system by just thinking about it in theory, right? Because I developed the entire thing. I thought of it took me 6 months to come up with. I was having dreams about it. Like I was like really in my Einstein era, right? Like thinking about like how can I scale horizontally, vertically, etc. And I could have fell in love with a theory, but I didn't know it actually worked yet. So I developed the theory and I put it into practice and it did work, and then amazing. I fell in love with the idea and that's great because it's something that worked. But if it didn't, I would have moved on. Okay, yeah, I spent 6 months trying to develop it and think about it. But if it didn't work, I would have just moved on and accepted, okay, well, it just didn't work. Yeah, I spent 6 months on it, but I'm not gonna get attached to it. Right? 23, reciprocation tendency. Now, people feel naturally obligated to other people who have previously done them a favor or helped them. They're hardwired to give back, reciprocate, and respond in kind to others. For example, right, if you sign a creator that you think is going to be a gem, but she's not making enough money yet, and you like go in the hole, like you lose money to give her like some level of paid marketing because you want to keep her, because she definitely is going to be a gem, then. And you tell them like, look, like wherever, or like, you know, for example, you I don't know, give them like a discount on your service or whatever. And then they respond by like, obviously they understand what you've done for them and how you don't usually do that. Then they're gonna feel obliged to return the favor, right? And that's why I never accept gifts from salespeople either, right? Like it's a very powerful reciprocation tendency is so powerful. Like you probably do it all the time. Like if someone does you a favor that really helps you out, you feel obliged to return that favor, and so you can utilize that as leverage, right? If you make like you shouldn't do it in a bad, unethical way, but we do it a lot with the creators we work with, to be honest, in the sense of like we will explain it like, look, if they're good creators, they're gem, they're listening to us, we'll be like, look, we don't usually do this at this stage, but because this costs us X amount of time and money, but we're willing to pay for this for you. So, you know, to help you get X, Y, Z. And then they're like, oh my God, that's so kind. Like they feel obliged. And then eventually they'll return the favor by either continuing to be motivated and do content, or next time you ask for something, they'll give you the favor, right? So really powerful. 24, Ben Franklin effect. We're more likely to like people who have done favors, who we have done favors for, and are more likely to do further favors for people we have done favors for before. We like helping people we've already helped. Example, you could email prospects the day before asking for a simple favor, such as, can you do me a big favor and confirm this is the right email address, to build this effect into your process. Or you can remind people of the favors they've done prior to buying, to get them to buy, right? So that's really powerful. Information bias. Most humans are naturally wired to seek information before making a decision, even when that information doesn't contribute to the knowledge they need to make the decision at hand. They are by nature information gatherers and squirrels for opportunities. Example, prospects may ask you for information prior to a call and then use this information to make prejudgments about your service, perhaps not even showing up, which is why you got to get them curiosity and not give them too much information. Action bias. Humans have a bias towards action. They'll often act on things they don't need to act on or try to fix problems that don't exist. Even if action is not required, humans will have an urge to act. Example, because of this bias, you can lean on it to encourage action. If someone replies to a cold email saying we're all set, you can respond with, let's see if there are any small improvements we can make. Number 27, non-adaptive choice switching. Once bitten, twice shy. The inhibition of making decisions that seem similar in nature to previous outcomes that one has regretted experiencing. Example, including the word marketing in your email copy immediately categorizes you with every other marketing agency that has fucked over businesses before, right? And it's why like I try and stay away from saying I'm an OnlyFans management agency. Like I only use the words like OnlyFans management agency to like you guys on the program because you understand what it is and you don't have negative connotations of it. To creators, I never say we're an OnlyFans management agency. You can see in my ads, I treat everything like I work with the creators, like one-on-one, like you're going to be working with me. I never mention an agency or nothing. And so yeah. Escalation of commitment, also known as the sunk cost fallacy. This bias explains that people will escalate their commitment to something even if it isn't the right thing to do. Essentially, it's doubling down on something, putting more resources into it just because the previous resources have gone into it. If a prospect has spent 60 minutes on a sales call with you and still hasn't bought, they're more likely to spend an extra 15 because of the prior time expenditure. Hot hand fallacy, a psychological condition in which people believe an individual is hot or cold depending on past performance, when that performance has no bearing on future outcomes. Example, if you can demonstrate to your client that you're on a roll and the last 3 out of 30 people to work with you got amazing results, then you are leveraging the hot hand fallacy, even if previous 27 people got bad results, okay? Ambiguity effect. Now, humans try to avoid ambiguity and don't like the uncertainty it produces. They're less likely to act on things and make decisions that are ambiguous or produce ambiguity. Example, make your stimuli clear, straightforward, and understandable. Status quo bias, right? Now, humans are biased towards conserving their current methodologies, ways of thinking, and doing things. They are biased towards believing that the status quo is the best way to go. Example, you can use words like traditional and tried and tested to give an indication that your systems abide by the status quo without seeming similar to everyone else. It's why I'll say stuff like acid-tested systems and shit like that, right? Number 32, the Dunning-Kruger effect. People who lack knowledge and skill commonly overestimate their competence, while people who have knowledge and skill commonly underestimate their competence. Recognize that your prospect will likely be overestimating their ability to run their OnlyFans, and weave this into your stimuli with phrases like, you know what to do. Number 33, illusory truth effect. Humans tend to perceive claims or statements as truer if they have previously been exposed to them. This is why fake news can spread so quickly as truth. Example, if you want your prospects to believe your systems work, it helps to wrap this up into a certain claim or statement and expose it to them prior to the call. So, if I want prospects to believe that we can make subscriber acquisition easy, I'll spread out all of my stimuli. I'll talk about how easy it is for us to get 2,000 subs a month guaranteed, blah, 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 blah. Rhyme as reason effect. Humans give more credence and believability to claims and statements that rhyme. A friend in need is a friend indeed. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Now, it might sound cheesy, but we really do make subscriber acquisition easy, right? That's an example. Subjective validation. People are likely to consider a claim or piece of information to be true if it has personal meaning or significance to them. So if a piece of cold DM copy explains the exact problems the prospect's facing, they're more likely to act on it because it validates their personal subjective struggle. Now remember, in 3-step conversational flow, I talk about creating context and familiarity. That's exactly what this is, right? 36, scarcity bias. Humans are biased towards acting to get things that are scarce or seem scarce. Example, when we start a mastermind, we'll have a member cap and limit how many new people can join every quarter. Number 37, urgency bias. Humans are more likely to act now if they feel that action has urgency, meaning if it's not decided on or acted on now, there are going to be negative consequences. Example, this system won't work anywhere near as well in 6 months after XX updates their platform. So it's something we need to act on quickly, otherwise we'll miss out on a huge opportunity. Click word conditioning. Humans have knee-jerk responses that are conditioned into them. Most of their behaviors works like a machine in a click-word nature. This leads to irrational decisions. Example, if your copy looks like something everyone sends the prospect, they will unconsciously categorize the copy as useless and knee-jerk response into a deleted folder every time, right? It's why agency pages and stuff like that don't perform as well. And it's why, spamming big, long opening messages don't work as well, right? You've got to just find a way to stand out. With like cold DMs, it doesn't even matter what you say. You just need to stand out. Like you just need to be different from everyone else in their DMs, right? It doesn't have to mention your agency. It doesn't have to be anything. The goal is just to get replies. And so if you think about it on that first principles level, just do something to stand out. That's it. That's as simple as it is. Number 39, reason, respecting tendency. People are more likely to do something if they believe there's a reason for doing it. The reason doesn't even have to be that logical. It just has to exist. For example, if we include like the because something after your call to action in a stimuli can contribute to a better call to action performance because we're given a reason to move forward. So if you're making a YouTube video and you make a call to action and you're like, so if you want to learn how we can get you an additional 2,000 paid subscribers every single month, guaranteed if you don't pay, then click the link below and book a call. Because if you book a call now, you're actually going to be one of the first people to take advantage of this system that's only going to last the next 6 months before XXX updates their platform. So that is reason, respect, and tendency combined with urgency, right? And that's what you always want to make call to actions like. Gives them a reason to move forward rather than just saying, click the link below to book a call if you want, and I'll see you in the next video. If you like, click a link to book a call because XYZ thing, XYZ reason to move forward, they're going to do it. 40, egocentric bias. Humans far too often rely solely on their own perspective to make decisions and have high opinions of themselves that lead them to thinking they're always right. Example, if someone has the idea not to move forward with you, you cannot attack the idea directly as it's egocentric. Instead, you need to use questions and empathy to bypass the ego. 41, anchoring bias. Humans have a tendency to rely too heavily on the first piece of information they learn, then comparing other things in the same category against that thing. Their judgment is easily impaired by a particular reference point or anchor. Example, if Molossom sold a mastermind at $100,000, but its course at $2,000, people would be more likely to think the course is inexpensive if it's exposed to the mastermind, right? So if for example, right, I was to sell a course for $2,000 and I was also to sell a mastermind for $100,000, if you heard about the mastermind first, like if the first thing you ever came across was like my mastermind and you knew it was $100,000 and then you seen the course, then obviously it seems super inexpensive, and so you can use anchoring like Hamosi did in the YouTube video, right? He anchored it. He said it's worth this. He was exposing you to all these big numbers first to eventually anchor you to a price point of $4,000, to then anchor you to a price point of $2,000, to then say it's free, right? That's how you make something irresistible and people need to act. Availability, misweighing tendency. If presented with two options, the average human would be more likely to pick the option that is most available. Humans typically default to the options that are most available to them. Example, the more follow-ups you do and the more often you expose your calendar link to the prospect, the more available the link is for them to click. It's honestly that simple. That's why follow-ups work so well. Frequency illusion. After noticing something for the first time, there's a tendency for someone to notice it more often, leading them to conclude it's more common or has a higher frequency of occurrence. Example, if someone in your niche sees and believes one piece of social proof you have, they'll start seeing it everywhere. Kind of like when you want to buy a certain type of car, then start seeing it everywhere. Number 44, the bar-num effect. When individuals believe that personality/self-image descriptions apply specifically to them, describe the fact the description is super vague and it could be applied to anyone, right? It's why like when people read like star signs and they're like, oh my God, like this is why star signs are so clever, but they bullshit. Obviously, I don't mean to, burst your bubble, but star signs are bullshit. But it's like, you're an Aquarius and you act this way, you do this thing, you like this thing, it's because they use this. And you think, oh my God, yeah, like this is so true. But then you could read every single star sign and there'll be something in every star sign that applies to you, right? And also in star signs, what's funny is like you choose to ignore the things that are not quite describe you, but like you choose to ignore them because of all the other things, and you delude yourself to make you think like maybe you are that way. It's so funny how it works, but it's utilizing this, right? So that's a good example. Another example is during the sales process, it helps to tell a prospective customer why they're such a good fit and use their problem, situation, and personality as justification for your confidence in the fit. Even if it's vague, right? We love working with hard workers. It's going to work a charm, right? So if you're working with a creator and you're like, oh my God, the reason you're going to be such a good fit is because right now you're facing X problem and you're in this situation, but you're such a hard worker and we love working with hard workers. It's like so powerful, right? 45, zero risk bias. Humans have a tendency to seek to eliminate risk and pick the less risky option, even if the riskier option presents a better risk-reward ratio. Example, during a sales call, evergreen video, loom pitch, or ad, position working with you as the less risky option as opposed to the high risk option of them continuing doing what they're doing, right? So by working with us, you're going to speed up time and you're going to get to your goal a lot faster. Whereas if you choose not to work with us, you're going to stay in the same situation. You might be 2-3 years down the line. You still haven't achieved your goal. You're still in the same place, blah, 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 blah. However you want to explain it, right? 46, humor bias. Humans often act irrationally, picking things or deciding to do things because they're funny or make them laugh. It's why meme culture is so big. It's why shit coins and meme coins do so well. Example, telling the odd joke in your stimuli or saying something ironic, funny, or downright hilarious can get people's attention and action from them. I use it in objection handling. I even do this at the end of YouTube videos, right? Like if we go to a YouTube video of mine, and let's just go to this video right here, right? If we go to this video, you'll see at the end, like, I leverage humor at the call to action, right? So somewhere around the end, I like pretty much end up. Another agencies are also doing simplicity skills. So when everyone says something like, I want to see you bring them on like organic content systems, then I'll do that. But that's going to be enough today. I've been yapping for like the last hour. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video and found value in it. Also, just fucking died. Holy shit. What the fuck, dog? Holy shit, I feel like I fucking sound like I've smoked a pack of fucking 60. Anyway, join the free school community. See how I leveraged it? Like I leveraged humor and then went straight into the call to action because people are like now capped. Like people like, it's like a payoff, right? Like I think someone even commented on it. Like last minute was the reward of the video when you drink the water, right? Like it's more likely to get people to take action because I've added humor to the action. Like most people at the end of the video click off, right? Because you're like, that's it for the end of today's video, blah, 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 blah. but I added like a pattern interrupting humor, and so like it was just something that I used. And there's obviously tons of different ways to do this, but you know, leveraging your objection handling, leveraging your stimuli like your ads, etc., is going to be key, right? So, number 47, hyperbolic discounting. People are more inclined to make decisions and take actions that get smaller, immediate rewards instead of larger rewards later down the line. Example, position your offer in a way that can produce immediate gratification, results, and rewards while maintaining its long-term integrity. 48, ostrich effect. It's common for humans to bury their heads in the sand when trouble is brewing or they don't want to see the truth of what it is. So an example is position your offer and service as a way for the prospect to bury their head in the sand. That way they don't have to worry about it. And that you've got it for them, right? So like you are the sand, like you'll take care of it for them, right? It's why done for you stuff does so well. 49, groupthink. Groupthink is a phenomenon that manifests when large groups or crowds of people get together and start thinking about things. It's extremely irrational. Example, people who run live free seminars to sell their products often pay actors in the crowd to demonstrate extreme enthusiasm and get others swept in groupthink, right? It's really, really powerful. If you go to like a Russell Brunson event or a Mike Grant event, you literally have paid actors there going around saying like how they got results with Russell Brunson's thing and how it's amazing, and they just have extreme enthusiasm. Like, oh my god, you haven't done this, you haven't like bought the thing, your Norin is in the circle, like holy shit, right? So when you go to a free seminar, keep that in mind, right? They're utilizing this principle. Recency effect, right? And you could do the same thing with OnlyFans, right? Imagine you held a big OnlyFans creator mastermind and you got a bunch of like girls there that were paid actors to go around and say how amazing your agency was and how it's like changed their life and this and that. Again, you're going to sign so many clients that day. Recency effect, right? Things, ideas, statements, options, and arguments that came last are remembered more clearly and with more prevalence than those that came first. So if a prospect is making a decision between you and 4 other agencies, make sure you're scheduled to talk to them after the other 4 agencies have pitched. Most prospects that come to you will speak to agencies first, and every time I always say, like, you know, go and speak to them first. So when I was working on my case study client and I took the sales call, it was the first time in ages I took the sales call. She was explaining she's going to speak to all these other agencies, and there was like 7 other agencies total. I said, speak to all them first, then come and speak to me, right? And it's because of this recency effect, and then I effectively closed it. And I also had a feeling that what the other agencies were going to say, and so I just did the polar opposite. Verbatim effect. People reduce conversations and complicated encounters down to simple understandings that are easily remembered, and then use these simple understandings, not the nuances of the complicated encounters, to make decisions. Typically, they make the suboptimal ones. So, example, when pitching a prospect on a sales call or write down a cold email, cold DM, only include key details and differentiate between what is slightly important and what is vital to understand. 52, envy/jealousy tendency. Humans get envious and jealous when they see other humans obtaining or maintaining things they desire or want. As Buffett says, it's not greed that drives the world, but envy. Example, if a business owner has friends crushing it, they will naturally envy their friends and want similar results. This is certainly leverageable if exposed during the sales process. Or you can turn it to an authority in their space. They will naturally envy and maybe hate and promise to help beat that authority, right? So if you're on a call with an OnlyFans creator, right, she has a OnlyFans business and her friends also are in the OnlyFans business and they're doing extremely well, then you can leverage that to get her to take action because she wants to be better than her friends, right? It's why like I seen an ad not too long ago about like golf. And Dan S. Kennedy, I think, like wrote the ad and stuff like that, and it was explaining like all these people were trying to sell like a golf club or some golf thing. I can't remember where it was, and he pretty much explained like they were trying to sell the features and why it's so good and blah 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 blah. And Dan Kennedy wrote the copy for it and instantly took the angle of like, you know, this is going to knock 3 strokes off your game, and that's going to help you beat your friends or wherever. It was a lot better than that, but it pretty much was like it's going to help you take 3 strokes off your game, so you'll be able to like impress your friends and you know, be the king on the pitch or wherever, the king on the course or wherever, right? That is utilizing this envy jealousy thing, because if you're playing golf with your friends, you want to be the best, and so if this thing, like, it's no point in selling the features of the thing to someone, but sell the emotion to them, right? It's just like they want to be better than their friends. They envy them friends. And so if this thing is going to help them be better, then they're going to want to take action, right? So or you can turn to an authority in the space that they will naturally envy and maybe hate, and promise to help beat that authority, okay? Now, facial attention bias. Humans trust faces, and their attention is biased towards images containing faces. Typically, those convey an emotion, which is why I use pictures of my face displaying strong emotions in my thumbnails to get clicks. 54. First conclusion bias. Humans are biased towards the first idea they discover. Often this limits their natural curious drives to explore alternatives. Part of the commitment consistency. Confirmation bias, right? So an example of that is if you have multiple purchasing options available, make sure you explore the one you want them to pick the most first, right? So let's just say you have 3 different services with your OnlyFans. You have a marketing service that's 20%, you have a chatting service that's 20%, or you have a full service management that's 50%. If you want them to join the full service management, you show them that first, right? Now, these are heuristics and biases that don't officially academically exist, but I've observed them and used them to sign nearly 1,000 clients, and they're from my observations, right? I didn't invent or discover all of these myself. And when I say I've signed nearly 1,000 clients, this is across both of my businesses, right? It's the same principle, like these principles and these biases are just, this is like all humans have these, right? So if you're on this program, I have utilized these to get you on this program to help you. If you're an OnlyFans creator, same thing, right? I've signed probably well over 1,000 clients now, actually, to be honest. If I had to think of it in total, because, you know, the amount of OnlyFans creators I've signed that, you know, we've got rid of after 2 weeks is kind of crazy. So it's probably well over 1,000 at this point, to be completely honest. But yeah, that doesn't matter anyway. Number 1. Permission-based misinfluence. Humans like perceived control in situations relevant to client acquisition. They're far more likely to agree to something or make a decision if the person making the requests asks for their permission to ask in the first place. It's asking to ask. Well, since you asked so nicely, right? So an example, my favorite cold messaging opener revolves around asking them for their permission for me to pitch. This gives a false sense of control and makes them feel respected. Like, look, I know you're a super busy woman, but if this sounds at all interesting, you just give me a thumbs up and I'll send you the blah, 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 right? 2, frame-based misreaction. Emotional states are contagious. In a conversation between prospect and salesperson, whoever is the most persistent in their frame will win. A frame is an emotion, state, or viewpoint. Example, when on a sales call, if someone is talking with doubt, I will never enter their frame and join them there. Instead, I'll set my own frame of extreme confidence and stay in it until they join me. Either you buy their doubt or they buy your confidence. 3, psychological attrition tendency, aka persistence. The threshold for action is decreased when persistence is applied. Children understand this. To get what they want, they just won't stop asking. And it's a shame that we're conditioned to hold back on persistence as we grow into adults, because it is a fucking weapon. Example, I don't care how many rebuttals it takes if I'm on a sales call and someone is a fit. I'll sit on the phone for 3 hours and stay persistent if I must. I also follow up on people a ridiculous amount of times and don't just go away. Never say, this is my last follow-up. Graduality tendency. Some decisions and actions require gradualness, meaning they start as unfathomable ideas that would never be acted on and gradually become concepts that can be entertained, then become concrete and manifest into reality. Example, it once took me 11 months to sign a single client. On our first call, she said there's no way in hell she'd ever work with us. And as an experiment, I sent her a testimonial and a result every single month via email personally. And 11 months later, she said, all right, you got me. And that can be paid with attrition tendency. Number 5, simple digestibility. Simple gets better results. Humans are more likely to act on things that are easily understood. Simple words, simple images, simple stimuli work better than overcomplicated, messy ones. Just say what needs to be said and leave it at that. Example, when writing copy, try using words that are so simple and could be understood by a young child. It's why whenever I write copy, I always ask ChatGPT, make this 5th grade reading level, or there's a 5th grade reading level software you can put it through to do the same thing. 6, relatability bias. If a human can relate to someone, they're more vulnerable to influence from that person. So, example, I understand you want to know the price before buying, but if you had a prospect who was perfect for you, would you want to give them the price without any form of value to attach to it? You wouldn't, right? So, understanding bias. If you understand, they'll trust you more. Humans that feel understood are immediately more likely to trust a person who understands them. If she knows me this well, she must be able to help. Feeling understood is often synonymous with feeling trust. Example, during the objection part of a sales call, or if dealing with a thorny reply on cold email or cold DM, I'll make an effort to truly put myself in their shoes and mirror their exact thoughts and emotional state back to them. This is a true fucking weapon. Originality bias. In client acquisition, humans are more likely to respond to initial stimuli if they're original. You don't need to get original with your calendar event or even sales questions. More so, stimuli that is entry level to the system, cold email, cold message, ad creative. Note, originality for the sake of originality won't work. It needs to still be effective elsewhere. Example, our original DM system works so well because it's original and hasn't been copied by 10,000 people. 9. Creativity bias. In client acquisition, humans are more likely to respond to initial stimuli if they are creative. You don't need to get original with your calendar event or even sales questions. More so, stimuli that is entry level to the system, cold email, cold messages, ad creatives. Note, creativity for the sake of creativity won't work and still needs to be effectiveness elsewhere. Example, when following up with people, we use memes that are creative, funny, even if I do say so myself, and are unique to us. Right? 10. Live up to expectation bias. Humans crave to live up to expectations set for them by other humans. Example, I can tell you the kind of person to act if you know it's right and makes sense. FOMO bias. Humans hate missing out on things, especially if other people around them are getting it. Example, the last thing I'd want is for someone else to scoop this up who might be a worse fit than you. Disarming honesty bias. Nothing creates trust better than radical transparency and honesty. Honesty disarms the prospect of skepticism because people who tell the truth are to be trusted. You can tell the truth, then use the word but to segue into a statement of believability. Example, look, I can't get you 10,000 new subs a month, unfortunately, but if all you need is 2,000, that's something I can truly manage. Or you could say, look, I know you want to get to 100,000 a month in the next 90 days, but if I'm being honest, it's going to take us 12 months at least. I need to be honest with you about that. Is that going to be okay? Can I tell you the truth, Camilla? Right? Boom. 13. Novelty bias. Shiny object syndrome. Here we go. Humans are shiny object lovers. New things entice and excite them. Positioning your offer as a new and shiny and never seen before thing triggers action. Example, a lot of marketing agencies started selling TikTok ads as they were new and shiny. Or position your service as something you'll have never seen or tried before. Right? Guaranteed. So like if you say like, you know, I can guarantee that you've never done XYZ thing before. Like if you're saying like, you know, like let's just say like dating apps is this new shiny thing that no one ever heard of before, when you're like, you know, you're selling some like dating app service and you can guarantee that they've never tried it before. That's like enticing because it's like new and shiny. It's like, oh my God, I've never tried this before and it gets these results. Holy shit. 14, conviction bias, especially in sales, right? Things stated with confidence are more believable to the average person, regardless of their efficacy or validity. If you want someone to share your confidence, you need to have it. Example, this will completely change your life, is a pretty powerful statement when stated with conviction. 15, casual bias, right? So believing people who have casual conviction. Professionals who are casual about their skills and often regarded as authoritative, having a cool, collected tone when discussing how great you are and your offer is effective. Example, yeah, I mean, you need 2,000 subs a month, that's 66 a day. That's literally nothing. Like we get 600 per day. Honestly, like you're gonna be so easy to please. That's an example, right? Tried and tested bias, old school tradition. Often humans find trust and comfort in old school methods or tried and tested strategies. If something is stated as proven, battle tested, or rooted in undisputed and ancient method, it's more likely to be trusted, right? Again, that's why I say acid tested systems. Example, Molosum relies on strategies and methods of thinking that are hundreds of years old and have stood the test of time. They worked then and they work even better now. 17, selfishness tendency. Humans are selfish. If you want to persuade them, appeal to their interest and not to reason, most people only do things out of their own self interest. Example, if you do this, you can keep it all yourself and not share it with anyone else. 18, pattern break bias. Humans have inbuilt pattern recognition systems. They group certain stimuli into batches or categories and use these categories to make instant unconscious decisions of rejection. Example, how many times have you received a cold email only to delete it without even thinking? It's because the body copy looks similar to stuff you've unconsciously categorized as worthless or pointless. Mystery bias. Something shrouded in mystery creates interest and action to find out more. Example, if a prospect asks how it works, you can say, good question. It's actually a bit of a secret, but I'd be happy to share it with you on a demo. 20, politeness bias. Humans react well to people who treat them with respect and are nice to them. Please, thank you, you're the best, etc. goes a long way. Example, thank you so much for your reply. It means a lot to me. Effort perception bias. Humans are more vulnerable to persuasion by someone who has put in a lot of effort into their approach or helping them. This is why a simple loom works so well. Even if you put no effort into it, this is the perception of the effort that counts. Like, oh my God, this person actually made a personalized loom, or it's why personalized DMs work so well. This person's actually gone out their way to send me a personal DM, mention my name, understand my current situation, etc. Right? Yeah, it's longer, it takes harder, it's longer to scale, but you get better results. 22, drama queen bias. Hyperbole is a great method to encourage action. It never hurts to exaggerate a person's problems and the effect of those problems have, right? It never hurts to help exaggerate their dream and your confidence. Example, if we don't fix this problem, it's the bloody end of the world as far as I'm concerned. Or, I am extremely supercalifragilisticexpialidociously confident that we can solve this problem. And that one isn't tested, by the way. That's a mouthful. 23, disqualified identity bias. It often helps to disqualify people from your offer and explain who your service isn't for. By doing so, you make the person more likely to think that this is for me, especially if you understand them well. Example, this isn't for people who are looking for an easy, get-rich-quick sort of scheme. We want people who are committed for the long term and understand that success takes time. 24, removed self-concerns bias. People often have concerns about their ability or identity/skill set, concerns that might hold them back from making decisions to move forward. Removing these concerns encourages decisions. Example, on our old funnel, it said, you don't need to do explicit content or chat with your fans. 25, show and tell bias. People believe what they see more readily than what they're already told. And so if you want to prove a point, show them, don't tell them. Our reps don't tell prospects we can get 1,000 paid subs per day. They show them their OnlyFans. 26, lil bonus bias. Often the difference between someone acting and not is a tiny point break that breaks the critical mass of their threshold. Example, oh, and the only one extra thing if you're on the fence is if you book, I'll tell you my best OnlyFans related joke, right? I'll tell you my best joke. It won't help your OnlyFans, but it should make you laugh, right? That's like just an example of that. 27, one-of-a-kind bias. If people believe that they can only get what they need and want from you, they're gonna buy from you. Example, our service isn't like anything you will have seen before. You can't get this information and these results this quickly anywhere else. And then you obviously need to back it up with why. 28, instruction clarity bias. Humans like clear instructions when making decisions. They like to know that if they act and make the decision, that there's a clear-cut path that gives them exactly what they want. So example, if someone is on the fence during a sales call, I'll ask them, would it be helpful to understand in detail the exact six steps that we're taking with them to get them what they want. 29, exclusivity bias. Humans like acting on things that make that thing exclusively theirs. So example, if you work with us, we do not work with anyone directly in competition with you. Again, this would only really work for like local businesses, but it's just an example that was like generalized for you to understand the point. Now you could do this in tons of other things, like in terms of OnlyFans, you would use exclusivity bias, right? Like, you know, if you join this task group where you're only going to be getting this, and this thing that no one else has access to because you joined the task group of 5 creators, for example. There's tons of ways to utilize that, right? But this is a big one. Hard work bias, right? Humans, specifically business owners, and OnlyFans creators are business owners, right? Just to reiterate, like they are. Humans, specifically business owners, overestimate their work ethic, and this is leverageable. So I know you're a hardworking creator, and that's exactly why I want to work with you. One hard worker to another. Trend bias. Humans are likely to fall prey to trend bias if they think they can capitalize off the next big thing. They're just going to fall prey to it, right? Mass trends are popular and encourage action. Example, what we're doing is at the start of a big trend, and I want you to get in early so that you can have an early mover's advantage, right? So what we're doing with YouTube right now is at the start of a massive trend, and I really want to get you in early so that you can have like the early mover's advantage and be like set, right? And if you leave it too long, then it's not going to be as effective. 32, justification bias. Why? People like to understand why things work the way they do. If you state something, it helps to explain why you stated it, or why you do it that way, or why you do it at all, right? See also reason, respect, and tendency to understand that even further. Example, the reason we do it like that is because it works better, right? The reason that we run, the reason why you need to do inbound. The reason why you need to build your inbound system is because it's going to get you X, Y, Z results, wherever. 33, quantitative specificity bias. People are predisposed to believe numbers, quantitative values, and statistics if they're seemingly specific. We've seen success with 83.3% of our clients. 34 is the overdone it bias, right? So bias leverage can be taken too far. Sometimes it's best to fire parts of a stimulus from the hip without calculating every single part. And so if you're going to leverage biases, you need to do it properly, and you still need to seem like a genuine human. For example, ever read an ad that feels really slimy, or a funnel that doesn't really feel natural at all? That is because, like, you know, people might understand these biases and they're like, right, I need to include this, I need to do these 5 ones, I need to weave this in, and it's just this fake, like, fully, like, manipulative, like, psychology, just, like, weird thing, and it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, you can't do it like that. It needs to be natural, right? Reminders, serious ethical warning. We've discussed heuristics of the mind that we can use to create confidence and trust to get people to take actions that we want them to take. It's important that I have your awareness, and that with this knowledge comes big responsibility, and I'm trusting you to only use this video as a force for good. Please only use these if you can generally help people and are acting in their best interest. Note, these are models of behavior and do not apply every time in the binary sense. Not all of them will exist in every scenario of human activity, and they're not always relevant to acquisition, and you don't need to bear every single one in mind when crafting stimuli. Now, the cognitive bias codex. In the resources, there will be a SVG file in Kajabi that you can open to view the cognitive bias codex, right? Credits to Wikipedia. This is actually fucking sick. Or you can just view it by clicking here on this doc. And in this, you'll be able to look at even more cognitive biases, aka heuristics that we've just discussed, right? I mean, look at this. Like, it's amazing. You can zoom, you can go status quo bias. Boom, what we just discussed. Like, it's fucking sick, right? So if you want to study even further, you can utilize this. And it tells you the part of the brain as well, right? So too much information, not enough meaning, need to act fast, what should we remember? And it tells you like the different parts of the brain where we discard specifics to form generalities. That's what this part of the brain does at the top, right? So very sick resource, would recommend reading it. I literally, Ty Lopez is the guy that like made me understand this, and it was really game changing for me. Now let's talk about the Lollapalooza effect. Now we're almost coming to an end here, so stick with me. I know this has been a long one, but these are really important for you to understand that there's no other real way for me to deliver like fucking 6 years of different cognitive biases in one video. This is the most effective way to do it, and so there's a lot, I know, like understanding all this stuff, but they're really key. And even if you've got a couple of these and understood them and look over the doc after them and look at this, like you'll be in such a good position in terms of marketing, right? Because I base all my marketing, all my acquisition, everything based on psychology, right? And these psychological power dynamics. So let's look at the Lollapalooza effect, right? Now pay attention for this one because it's big. Now the Lollapalooza effect is a phenomenon that describes the critical mass-like nature of human decision-making and action. When you combine these biases into your stimuli, you can trigger typically irrational actions in humans that take them down your client acquisition process. Irrational actions are often necessary, so don't be afraid to conjure up irrationality in people that you can help. Often, the end decision to purchase is the sum result of the combination of many multiple cognitive biases, all aggregated to produce the decision. With cognitive biases, bias 1 plus bias 2 plus bias 3 does not equal an effectiveness score of 3. The Lollapalooza effect is non-linear and unpredictable. 1 plus 1 plus 1 could equal 100 or 45 or 12,000. And this is a direct quote from Charlie Munger on cognitive biases and how they work in with the Lollapalooza effect. The tendency to get extreme consequences from confluences of psychological tendencies acting in favor of a particular outcome. The most important thing to keep in mind is the idea that especially big forces often come out of these models. When several models combine, you get the Lollapalooza effect. This is when 2, 3, 4 or more forces are all operating in the same direction. And frequently, you don't get simple additions. It's often like critical mass in physics, where you get a nuclear explosion if you get to certain points of mass. And you don't get anything much worth seeing if you don't reach the mass. Sometimes the forces just add like ordinary quantities, and sometimes they combine on a breakpoint of critical mass, right? So like by combining these things, you hit critical mass and therefore your stimuli will be more effective, right? As you can see from this graph here, right? You know, your social proof, empower staff, price give back, all these different things to hit a point of critical mass, right? So like a break point that your stimuli is going to be effective, right? So final notes, everything you need to know to craft, create and build effective stimuli can be found in this video. If you want to know how to write good copy, create brilliant sales scripts or design funnels that work, you just need to understand people and how they think. Influence goes deeper than wanking a few testimonials on a funnel and guaranteeing results. It's really deep. Humans use heuristics to make decisions. A decision leads to an action, which is exactly what we want from the human in our client acquisition process. Design your stimuli with heuristics in mind to make your stimuli more effective at triggering action. There's 88 heuristics in this video. Obviously, I'm not recommending you use all of them or start cramming them all into everything you do. Be smart, okay? So, hopefully you found value in this video, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.